6 overnight Sunday, windy, areas of showers, maybe some snow showers. 36, mostly cloudy Monday. Tuesday, a mostly cloudy day, and 40. Again, it is partly sunny and 52 degrees. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
This is The Drive with Dan Michaels. Now heard throughout the region with 100,000 watts on 104.7 FM, 94.1 FM in the FM Metro, the KFGO mobile app, KFGO.com, and on the triple towers of power, the mighty 790 News Radio, KFGO.
The mighty 790 at 104.7 KFGO. Good afternoon. Welcome back to The Drive. I'm your host, Dan Michaels. Great to have you with us. KFGO time is 4:08. The Thundering Herd will host the final regular season game of the season tomorrow at the FargoDome. 2:30 kickoff, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits and the North Dakota State Bison. After that, we're playoff bound. I can't believe either one of those teams is not going to be in the FCS playoffs. But to talk about the playoff picture, this football game, and things going on around it is the television voice of the herd from Midco and KVOY Television Sports. Please welcome back to KFGO, Mr. Brian Shawn.
Hey, what's up, Dano? How we doing today?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Beautiful day today.
You feeling good, Brian?
I feel good. Yep.
Good.
Feel real good.
Good.
Yep.
I'm glad to hear that. All is well. Brian Shawn will be doing the broadcast tomorrow for Channel 11 on the game, the Dakota Marker game, getting ready to go. So, Brian, I guess doing a macro look at the lineup of the ball game, your thoughts going in. How do we match up with South Dakota State?
It's hard to find an advantage, really, one side or the other, Dan. I feel like both teams, they're both 1 and 2 in running the ball. They both average almost the exact same amount of yardage running the football this spring, around 220 yards a game. They're both really good at stopping the run. They're both, one of the top 3 scoring defenses in the Valley. At the end of the day, Dan, it's going to come down to who blocks and tackles the best. That doesn't sound real exciting, but when you have teams that want to establish the line of scrimmage, the big boys up front on both sides are the ones that are going to decide it. And I'm not saying that, you don't need playmakers to go out there and make plays, and certainly special teams can play a factor. We saw that last week with North Dakota State and Northern Iowa. Special teams can change things, and explosive plays matter, but, ultimately, you got to be able to run the ball and stop the run and take care of the football. And whoever does that the best, I think, is going to win tomorrow.
Both South Dakota State and North Dakota State had games this year where they were a little off, lost the ball game, really not typical play for them. But overall, records are really solid going in. As we're watching the ball game tomorrow, Brian, who should we be watching for the South Dakota State Jackrabbits? Let's start on offense.
Yeah, well, they got a true freshman quarterback who's coming in and done a nice job, Mark Karnowski. And I was really surprised, quite frankly, when he came out of their winter or preseason camp as the top guy. They had 2 other quarterbacks there that started games last year. I kind of anticipated one of those guys would be the starter, and this guy's done a nice job running things. And he's still a freshman. He still is a little erratic at times, but every snap he gets better and better. And he's been running the football really well too from his position. But the guy I think that everybody's going to have to keep their eyes on is number 20, and that's Pierre Strong. Matt Entz called him this week the best back in the FCS. I watched the last 2 games he played against, not against SIU, but against Youngstown, and then the week before. He's a tough guy to bring down, man. He can hit the hole hard. He's got really good vision, good laterally, good finishing runs, long strider. He's a load, and so NDSU will have to make sure they get that guy before he gets ahead of steam, because he has the capability of being a home run hitter, and that'll be interesting to watch to see how everything goes. And the other part of it too, Dano, is South Dakota State hasn't played in a month. How much rust do they have? How sharp are they out of the chute?
True.
Those are all things I think we're just going to have to watch, especially early in the game, just to see how that matchup goes. It's really hard to figure who's got an advantage just based on all the extenuating circumstances around this game. But
wow.
I'm still looking forward to it, and I expect both teams will be ready to go tomorrow.
One of the most important things to any athletic endeavor is your mental preparedness. I think more so today than ever before, the mental aspect of playing ball has gotten more attention, and I think we're working on that a little bit more, getting our athletes mentally ready to play a ball game as opposed to just physically. Brian, with the COVID thing going on, and these guys not sure whether they're going to be playing every week and having so many games postponed, canceled, watching some in the league just melt away and not participate anymore, watching other leagues not have a season whatsoever. This has been a really mentally challenging season.
It has been. And you can see in a lot of ways how it's taken its toll on the coaches and the players. And even talking to Tyler Roll yesterday on the phone, he goes, Brian, he goes, even until we actually kicked off the game last week, there was so much doubt in everybody's minds of whether or not we were actually going to play until we actually kicked the ball off. Just because you go through these pauses and you go through a situation where you're 3 hours away from playing, and then boom, we pop a test and our week is over, and then the next week is over, and we're all sitting on pins and needles. Are we going to have any more positive tests? And every day you go through testing, you're nervous. Oh my gosh, am I the guy that's going to test positive and ruin this for our team? I mean, there's all that stuff. There's a ton of anxiety, for these guys. They don't want to make mistakes on the field, but they also don't want to make a mistake off the field and be in a situation where they cost their team a chance to play. And that's tough. You can do everything right and still catch this thing. And that's what's so hard for these guys. And I'm sure it's been really difficult on the coaches to try to keep everybody's spirits up. And that's where I think leadership on the team with the players is really important, to try to keep guys moving forward, recognizing the situations we're all dealing with right now.
Yeah, without question. It's got to be so difficult to get yourself ready for a game when you're not sure if you're actually going to play that ball game, and the energy that is required to focus in on that. I would assume that there's probably a lot of people that have never played athletics that maybe don't understand what we're trying to talk about here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, man, to be a student athlete, and sometimes it doesn't even matter the level, but certainly when you're playing at a championship level like NDSU is, SDSU is, you got to get yourself. I mean, it is a full-time job. It is studying. It is your position meetings. It's getting in the weight room. It's eating right. It's getting on the practice field and making the most out of your reps and staying focused in and locked in at all the times, because there's a lot that goes into this behind the scenes. I mean, I know the coaches that are there at 5:30, 6 o'clock every morning, and they're not leaving until late at night. And, you're breaking down film and you're going over things and you're trying to get ready for everything. And it's hard. It's hard on players, hard on coaches, hard on everybody that's associated with the program. Winning a football game takes a lot of work throughout the week. And, it's just one of those things, Dano, until you see it firsthand and kind of see what everybody goes through, you don't probably appreciate it enough.
John Stiglmeyer and Matt Entz, the head coaches for South Dakota State and North Dakota State, respectively, both very respective. John Stiglmeyer's been in that job for a long, long time. You never know what he's going to pull out of the hat.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. They have found ways to get creative and dress up a lot of the stuff they do. And, they know North Dakota State really, really well. And I think that's part of the fun, but also part of the challenge. They build their team knowing that they have to go through NDSU, to win a Valley championship, to move forward in the playoffs. And, you talk to NDSU coaches, the same thing too. You try to be ready for as many things as you can. And, they know each other so well that they know if they motion to this, that NDSU is going to check out of this and go to that. And it's hard to try to find different ways of doing the same thing when these programs have played each other so many times throughout the years and the coaching staffs know each other so well. And that's what makes the chess match of this, so interesting. And that's where you're curious what each coaching staff is maybe going to pull out of the box that they haven't shown yet this spring. And that does make it fun and make it interesting.
And they're keeping stuff, all these coaches are keeping stuff in their pocket until they absolutely have to pull it out because they don't want North Dakota State to see what they've got.
Oh, and South Dakota State has done that all the time. And you talk to Bison coaches, they will go back and look at tape from 4 or 5 years ago against SDSU and say, What hurt us in this game? What could they pull back out and run that they haven't run against us in, 3, 4, 5, 6 years? And that's the tricky part about all this.
And
you know what? I give the NDSU coaches credit, I will give the same credit to the SDSU coaches. They do a good job of getting their teams ready and trying to take advantage of matchups where they think they have an advantage. And ultimately in football, that's what it comes down to. Where do we like our chances in what part of the field and in what packages and what personnel and what's going to work the best? And then you got to execute. Whoever executes the best with that stuff usually is the team that wins.
North Dakota State needs a win over South Dakota State to finish 6-1 and claim a share of the Missouri Valley Football Conference title in the league's automatic qualifier for the FCS playoffs. Missouri State, which finished its schedule with one conference loss, has claimed a share of the league title, and North Dakota also has one loss and can claim a share of the title with a win. Are they playing? They're not playing, though.
No, they're not. They're Youngstown kind of called that thing off on Wednesday. So it's North Dakota's regular season is over, and they're kind of waiting to Sunday to find out where they're going to fall in all this and whether or not they get a home game. I think they will get a home game with their 4-1 league record. But again, now you're talking about playing in the playoffs when you haven't played in over a month.
Yeah, that's just incredible.
It's that challenge. It's that challenge and of all that, and then you're holding your breath to make sure no one pops a positive COVID test that week, and you don't have a position group that's out of commission and you can't play. I mean, those are the things that you're dealing with, and it's hard and it's stressful. And when you haven't played, you worry about can we knock the rust off and be efficient and do what we do and do it well in the playoffs. And there's a certain amount. The ante gets up a little bit on all that. So it's the same deal for everyone, though, Dano. And to think that we're not going to lose a playoff game somewhere along the lines, to me, is a scarcity. You got to figure it's going to happen when you got 8 first-round games. And then you got, 4 second-round games, 2 third-round games. Can you keep everybody healthy throughout that month? I hope so, but I also know what we've been dealing with here over the last month, and we've had a lot of cancellations already.
There's a lot of people who are aware of this legislation that is pending, has been passed by the North Dakota House and Senate, and is sitting on Doug Burgum's desk. It's this transgender bill that will keep transgender girls from participating in women's sports. Around the nation, it's been looked upon, frowned upon, and in fact, the NCAA has said that they won't play playoff games in states that pass this type of legislation. So we could not have any home football games if in the playoffs if the governor signs that bill next week.
Well, and it still needs to be determined how exactly what the terminology is, if that's for just neutral site events or if that is for home events. There's still a little bit of there's not quite a lot of clarity behind what that all means. But one of the things that it could cost the state, Dan, would be like a regional for hockey, right? Hockey regionals that are selected by the NCAA for neutral sites. They may say, sorry, we're not coming to Fargo anymore with this whole situation. And that's a very real possibility. And that is something I hope people are aware of. These types of decisions and these types of, opinions of people across the board, I know varies, but the reality is you have to understand what some of the consequences are when you're starting to make some of these decisions. And I hope everybody on the legislative level, at the government level, factors into that before they sign something into law that could potentially have some devastating impacts on the state, one way or the other. I hope people realize that.
Yep, I think they should have just left that alone. I don't know why politics got involved with that. Just leave it up to the High School Activities Association or the local school districts or something like that to deal with that. Anyway, I wonder if that's a can of worms that anybody in the legislature thought was going to be a problem for North Dakota State or UND moving forward with this. And one last thing before we get out of here, we're getting played off the stage again, Brian. Don't miss Brian Shawn broadcasting Bison football tomorrow kickoff. What time does pregame start, Brian?
Pregame at 1:30 tomorrow, Daniel. It's kind of hard to believe it's our last telecast already this spring. It's been kind of a weird deal, but I'm glad we've been able to get some of the games in anyway.
And so after this, it'll be ESPN during the FCS playoffs. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. All the games in the playoffs will be on ESPN platforms, and that will go between ESPN Plus, ESPN2, ESPN3, and a main signal as well. And some of that I don't think has quite been determined yet on what goes where. So we'll know more when the bracket is announced on Sunday morning, where everybody's going to be able to watch the games starting next weekend.
That's Sunday morning, the selection show, by the way. And 30 seconds, Brian, on the way out of here. Paige Morgan leaving the Bison women's basketball program. What do you think of that?
Morgan's awesome. I'm so happy. I'm just so glad I got to know her in the 5 years she was here. one of the best people. I'm going to miss having her around. She's awesome, and I wish her the best in whatever her future is. And she did a lot of good here in this transition when she was on Marin's staff and coming over on Jory's staff and being part of the turnaround here the last couple of years. So wherever the future takes her, I wish her the best. She's an awesome person.
Yeah, we'll watch where she lands. Brian Shawn, Midco Sportsnet and KVOY Television, voice of the Bison. Brian, take care of yourself. It's good to talk to you, and we'll talk again soon. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, take care, Daniel. Thank you.
You bet. Brian Shawn today. KFGO time, 422. You're listening.